Andor is pissing on Boba Fett and Mandalorian too. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Whole Views. Thank you for clicking that thumbnail. My name is Corey, and today we're going to be discussing the Andor series from Star Wars that is on Disney Plus. They dropped the first 3 episodes, and I'm very, very reluctant to say that I might be the first negative voice you hear talk about the show. Let's start off with the positives before we get into any critiques. I feel like the show is very, very good. The production value of the show is incredible. When I compare the set design, the sound effects, the cinematography, the way things look as far as the editing and the polish, the final polish that gets put on the show, Andor is pissing on Boba Fett and Mandalorian too. Mandalorian is very, very good, and I don't know if that's because I'm in love with the main character and the Grogu and all that of it all, but it's really pissing on Boba Fett though, and it's no competition. Like, it looks so much better than anything that we've seen on those episodes. Mando though is, I feel like Mando kind of can stand up next to it, but still not head and shoulders, like perfectly eye to eye even with Andor. Andor has a lot of production value to it, man. The lighting is great. The tone of the show is very great. And the fact that this show is tonally so much different. I think Boba Fett was trying to achieve this tone, but it failed. It failed miserably in comparison to what we see here. This is super serious Star Wars. This is not the Star Wars show that will appeal to kids. It's like Mando is something that can appeal to all. It hits all demographics to me. It can hit the elderly because my pops watches Mandalorian. He enjoys all the Star Wars stuff. I watch Mandalorian. My kids know who Baby Yoda is. They can see it on the screen and like, oh, look, he's so cute, this and that, this and that. They hit all demographics with Mandalorian. This show, I can't see any part of this appealing to my kids. First of all, the trailers sell you something that's very espionage heavy, and I feel like it's gonna get there, but it's not there yet. This first 3 episodes is really to set up who Cassian Andor is and get him to the point where he's willing to join the rebellion. I think that's what the entire mystery of the Stellan Skarsgård character is like putting forth in that 3rd episode. But not to get ahead of myself, let's talk about the episodes in chronological order. First episode, first 15 minutes, I was like, my kids can't watch this because I'm gonna have to explain what a brothel is, and like, it's violent. That boy Cassian put them hands on those 2 officers, killing one of them, and I was like, that's a great scene. Again, the tone and the feel, the vibe, way more serious. Like the fact that he pulled the trigger on one guy and killed one guy in hand to hand. Those deaths had more weight and more serious gravity to it than anything I saw in Boba Fett. Like, I think Boba Fett killed a governor or something like that. Somebody high up. Felt like nothing. These 2 deaths felt significant from the onset of the show. My criticism and my negatives comes when I speak about episode 2. Episode 2 to me was very boring. It felt like filler, and I thought to myself, it's too fresh. This is the premiere. You can't be giving filler during the premiere episodes that you're putting out, but that's what it felt like. I don't feel like anything really moved forward. Well, let me retract that statement of anything not moving forward, because it did establish just a few things, but it's things that I felt as an audience member I could see coming from miles away, and I imagine other people could see these things coming as well. So you have the Binks character who has this little side guy, Tim, and Tim is clearly jealous. As soon as you see the 3 of these people on stage, you have Cassian, you have Binks, and you have Tim. They all show up, and you see Binks and Cassian together. The jealousy is all over Tim. And I immediately knew, like, he's going to do something to put Cassian in danger. Like, he's gonna be the catalyst to kick off all the events and the Imperials coming after Cassian. Like, I knew that from the moment I saw them all interacting together, because this guy is just super insecure and jealous. At the same time, they're also kind of setting up Skarsgård making his appearance, and it's like, I feel like maybe if those episodes were released week to week, then you might get a little theorizing of who he could be playing, or like where could he be coming from, or Where his ranking? Is he like this big high level rebel or something like that? All these things could be coming into play if it was week to week, but just knowing that I can instantly go to episode 3, the intrigue that they tried to set up with the Skarsgård character to me fell flat. Maybe that's just me being too critical, but setting up the snitch storyline and setting up Skarsgård felt kind of useless. We know what's coming. We know what's gonna happen. So in episode 3, it all happens, right? So Tim snitches, the Imperials catch up with Cassian and the Skarsgård character together. One of the things that I thought to myself in the entire unfolding of episode 3 was when Binks was handcuffed and she had got banged up by the Imperials, and Tim's rushing to her aid and he gets shot. And Binks does a great job. That actress, I didn't look up her name, but she did a great job in selling her distraughtness and her feelings of like, oh man, I really cared about this guy. Like, I'm so upset that they took him out. And as an audience member, I was like, they killed the snitch. No big deal. Like, it's not something that's bothering me at all. Like, I don't know if we as an audience were supposed to feel something for Tim, but I felt nothing because Tim is the problem. People like Tim not minding their business. I feel like they did a great job with the Andor character and the Skarsgård character in that little like shop with all the hanging engine parts and stuff. That was a great scene because in just a short amount of time, he set up a lot of intrigue and knowing who Andor's father was and kind of intriguing him and urging him on to do more and escaping with him in a nice little action scene. So I really like the way episode 3 was executed. So really high marks for the show. I really enjoyed the show, but I would be remiss and I would be missing a huge point of talk if I didn't talk about the character by the name of Karn, that Imperial officer who is going against his superior's wishes and digging deep into the murder of those 2 original officers. I was like, man, this dude is a world-class ass. I've never seen, well, I say I've never seen. It's very rare to see a person who is that anal and that intent on doing his job and following the rule book and just being a good little soldier. It's such an annoying character. And I'm saying that not as a negative, but just as like, wow, this guy's doing a great job because I hate him. And I think we're supposed to hate him as the audience. And oof, I don't like him one bit. Every time he was on screen, like trying to give a little speech to the rest of the crew, if you look at the faces of the Imperials after he gives his speech, they are very much unimpressed. But just the slightest pat on the back was enough to give this guy like a little, oh, I did something. Like, he really felt like he did something. Man, I dislike that guy so much. I hope that he's around for the entirety of the season. I hope that if, you know, at one point Cassian does, like, we see him infiltrate the Empire, I would love to see that guy be the guy that like ID Cassian and say like, no, he's him, and like nobody believes him because he's an insignificant character. Hopefully he gets bust down a few levels after his superior gets back and see the resources he wasted on 2 bad cops. It would be great. It would be great. I want to see him get bust down, and I also want to see him come back and cause conflict, and then I want to see him meet his end at Cassian's hand. It would be awesome. So those are my hopes for the show. I said I would talk negatively. I really like it, but I did not like episode 2. When episode 2 wrapped up, I was just like, we spent a whole 30 minutes doing what? Establishing the snitch and trying to build up Skarsgård's character, I guess. But that's very small negatives on the grand scale. Show's good. I'm enjoying the show. It's kind of what Star Wars needed, you know, to give us something super serious after a Boba Fett that to me fell flat, and after making us wait so long for some Mandalorian, I would very much like to see something else that is in the serious wheelhouse and more, you know, adult focused. Good stuff. I liked it. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section. That's all we have here today. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.